Republican Senator Jeff CornFlakes gave another grandstanding speech pretending to be against Donald Trump. Let's check it out.
It was a year in which an unrelenting daily assault on the constitutionally protected free speech was launched by the same White House, an assault that is as unprecedented as it is unwarranted. The enemy of the people was how the President of the United States called the free press in 2017. Mr. President, it is a testament to the condition of our democracy that our own president uses words infamously spoken by Joseph Stalin to describe his enemies. It bears noting that so fraught with malice was the phrase enemy of the people that even Nikita Khrushchev forbade its use, telling the Soviet Communist Party that the phrase had been introduced by Stalin for the purpose of, quote, annihilating such individuals, unquote, who disagreed with the supreme leader. This alone should be the source of great shame for us in this body, especially for those of us in the President's party, for they are shameful, repulsive statements. And of course, the President has it precisely backward. Despotism is the enemy of the people. The free press is the despot's enemy, which makes the free press the guardian of democracy. When a figure in power reflexively calls any press that doesn't suit him fake news, it is that person who should be the figure of suspicion, not the press. It is in the interest of every American to get to the bottom of this matter, wherever the investigation leads. Ignoring or denying the truth about hostile Russian intentions toward the United States leaves us vulnerable to future attacks. We are told by our intelligence agencies that these attacks are ongoing. Yet it has recently been reported that there has not been a single cabinet-level meeting regarding Russian interference and how to defend America against these attacks. Not one.
So there you go. You have Senator CornFlakes dipping his toe into faux resistance to Donald Trump here. So there's a few points to make about this. Now, first of all, his main point that Trump is a threat to a free press and free speech. Is that true? Well, the answer is yes, of course. So, for example, Trump repeatedly threatened to de-license news agencies that, basically do stories that he doesn't like, that are anti-Trump. Now, that in his mind, anything that's against me is fake news, anything that's pro-me is real news. That's his way of thinking, because he's a simpleton. But, yeah, he would say anybody who says things against me, that's fake news, therefore we should de-license them. He went on multiple tweet storms about that. This is a guy who's literally sued people over jokes that he didn't like. I mean, you want to talk about a fucking snowflake and a social justice warrior. Bill Maher made a joke I don't like about me where he compared my dad to a monkey or something. Sue him. Sue The Onion over a satire piece. He said that we should open up the libel laws in our country. Again, when people say things that are mean to him, my feelings, I need a safe space. So he wants to be able to sue people over that. And we have too much free speech in the U.S. This is his position. And of course, he even said we should ban flag burning. This is something that even super far right-wing Justice Antonin Scalia was like, no, flag burning is part and parcel of free speech. It is clearly a protected form of political protest. So yes, Trump is hostile to free speech. Nobody's been on that case more than me. But, of course, what Jeff Flake does is there's an implication there. And this is the same implication that happens with corporate Democrats who go after Trump for Trump going after the press. The implication is, oh my God, how dare you, you despot, you tyrant, you authoritarian lunatic. And the press, they're so noble and virtuous, and they're always right when they cover you and when they cover politics. That's the implication. And that's just not true. So the problem with Trump is the policies I laid out there that show that he's against free speech, literally, when it comes to what he wants to do with policy and what he's done in terms of lawsuits and whatnot. And the problem with Trump is that, he'll go after any news that is against him and he calls it fake news. But a broken clock is right twice a day. So there are times when Trump goes after the media where he's right. So in other words, just because Trump is against a free press and free speech doesn't mean that there are some noble victims that are always right and that they deserve nothing but fawning praise. And even more importantly, that when anybody points out their flaws, that, oh my God, that person is against free speech and a free press. No, I am the staunchest defender of free speech and a free press that's out there. But I will be the first one to tell you that the media, the free press, was dead wrong when they listened to George W. Bush and said, oh, we're going to call torture enhanced interrogation because they want us to do that. We're going to do the build-up to the Iraq War and pretend like Saddam was responsible for 9/11 when he wasn't responsible for 9/11. Wall-to-wall coverage that was pro-Iraq War leading up to the Iraq War. That's what the so-called free press gave us. The free press tried to bury the stories of the DNC leaks, tried to bury the corruption of Hillary Clinton. The free press tried to, pretend like, no, it's not the case that the DNC rigged it against Bernie from the start. He was getting a fair shake. Now, again, the same crowd that loves to, the corporate Democrats and the so-called resistance Republicans who love to attack Trump because he attacks the press, they would also attack us because we attack the press in an accurate way, and we attack the press from the left. So that's one portion of this that's super annoying about Jeff Cornflakes. And the other thing is, listen, what he's doing here, it's just a vanity project. This is just window dressing. Because guess what? He votes with Trump 90% of the time. 90%, that's an actual number. They track this, 538 tracks this, they track everybody's votes in the age of Trump, and how often do they vote with him, how often do they vote against him. He votes with Trump 90% of the time as he goes out there and rants against Trump. So I don't care about your fucking rhetoric. That doesn't mean anything. What matters is your votes. And your votes are 9 out of 10 times with them. So spare me your speechifying and your sucking yourself off and your self-aggrandizement. I don't care. I don't give a shit. And you saw at the end what this really boils down to. It boils down to two things. Number one, Russia. Russia. Oh my God. We should be even further right-wing on Russia policy. We should do more sanctions against them. We should put more NATO troops on the border. We should escalate further. And oh my God, they're interfering in elections. And we need to, man, shouldn't we be even more right-wing and hawkish on Russia? And by the way, people on the Democratic side, don't fall for this bullshit. Don't fall for this bullshit. Because it's Jeff Flake we're talking about. Jeff Flake and Lindsey Graham and John McCain, when they go after Trump for the Russia thing, they're not saying, hey, maybe there's a financial a corruption deal here with Trump and the Russian mafia or oligarchs, and the corruption is wrong. That's not what they're saying. When they go after Trump for the Russia thing, what they're saying is, you should be really a lot more hawkish against Russia, shouldn't you? You should be more standoffish with Putin. You should do more sanctions. You should arm the rebels in Ukraine, further escalating to World War III by setting up a proxy war. That's what they're saying, so don't fall for it. He's a resistance guy because he's speaking out against Trump, so we like him. But he votes with him 90% of the time. He votes with him 90% of the time, and when he's disagreeing with him, like on the Russia thing, he's to the right. And he's saying, let's be more hawkish. That's the root of what he's saying. That's the policy implication of what he's saying. And finally, the most annoying thing about Jeff Flake and others in the so-called resistance right is their problem was never with the bulk of the legislation and the policies that make up Trump and his style of politician. Their problem is with the politeness. Oh my God, he's crude, he's crass, he shoots from the hip, he's not polished. That's what they don't like. That's what they don't like. Now, the only response I can imagine to this is, well, Kyle, that's you, putting that on them. But it's not. I've seen countless examples of them actually saying it. I just retweeted something the other night from a big conservative group, the Reagan Battalion or whatever the fuck. And they said it. They're like, our problem with him is not legislation, it's policy. Our problem with him is not legislation. Our problem with him is, tone, decorum, demeanor, politeness, however they phrased it. So, okay, you have to understand this. They want a guy who does virtually all the same policies as Trump, but is even more hawkish on Russia. But he does all these things with a used car salesman smile and a slickness of tone and rhetoric. That's what they want. So if you fall for their fake resistance, you're a sucker. You're a chump. You've been had. So just get that through your head, man. But what's going to happen is, and I've already seen it, the mainstream media fucking loves this. They love it. They can't get enough of it. The resistance people on the right, that's their wet dream. Oh, because then they get to turn around. You know how the right always accuses the left of liberal media. So what they do is they work overtime to try to prove that wrong. But how do they prove that wrong? By taking guys like Jeff Flake and heaping praise on him. Oh, Jeff Flake, one of the reasonable Republicans. Yes, he's so good. He's so principled and noble, Jeff Flake. Yes, we'd vote for him in 2020. Yes. And now they do the same thing with Bill Kristol, neocon. They do the same thing with David Frum, neocon. They do the same thing with Evan McMuffin. Yes, I know his real name is McMullen. Yes, I know Jeff Flake's real name is Jeff Flake, but I call him CornFlake and I call him McMuffin. Get the fuck over it. Flake compared Trump to Stalin in his speech. But Flake votes with Trump 90% of the time. So thank you for admitting, Jeff Flake, that apparently you agree with Stalin 90% of the time. You didn't think this one through very much, did you, you fucking genius?